Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go over my electronics. So there's some new electronics on the boat, and I just kind of want to let you guys know you don't have to buy all your electronics brand new. I think the only thing I bought brand new on this boat was the Garmin graph and the Livescope, the transducer, the blood box, all that stuff. But I got those on a good deal. I got the Garmin graph for like $1,000. It was supposed to be like $1,500, something like that. And then I got the Livescope set up for about $1,500. I can't remember what they were really supposed to be, but those were on sale too. And I think they were close to $2,000. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I didn't. So if I'm buying them new, I'm usually getting them for a pretty good deal. Now, with that said, most of my electronics beforehand, and still are, I buy used, and it's just because you can get them for sometimes at least half, if not like 70% like off technically. Yeah, they're used, and I'm sure they're gonna have some scuffs and stuff, but it is what it is. As long as it works and does what it needs to do, I'm good with it. For example, so when I first started, I started on a smaller boat. I don't know if you guys remember. I'm not sure how many videos I filmed with. I don't think I filmed any in my smaller bass boat, to be honest. I had a little 15-foot bass boat, and it was pretty good. And you know, I didn't really want to drop thousands of dollars on electronics. So all I did was you know what? I take that back. I did buy one unit brand new with that bass boat. And that was this right here. So these are older Humminbird units. This one's actually an $8.99. This one's a $9.99. And this one is actually one that I bought brand new way back on that smaller bass boat. But this one was used, and I can't remember the price of this one. Actually, I think this was $1,000. I don't think I got a deal on it either. I don't think it was on sale. But I needed something for the bass boat. I needed a graph. So I got those, or I should say got the one, because that was the one that I got on the console. So I had one on the console, and then I had one small one up on the bow, and then I later upgraded to a like a bigger one, like this $8.99. But it wasn't an $8.99. It was like I think it was $8.59. Humminbird $8.59, and it's more of a down imaging, which is fine. That's all I needed for up there anyways. I found that side imaging on trolling motor, for me anyways, I don't get a lot of use out of. And for me up there, it's usually either down or down imaging, really. So I started with 2 units, and I started realizing, well, I would like to see that map a little bit bigger, instead of one small screen here and then one small screen here. Because on these, I don't remember the size of the screens on those 859s or 899s. I think they're like 7 inches or 6 or something like that. Not very big. I think they're only 7 inches. But you can't see a whole lot. I mean, you can. I mean, if you designate one for a map, that's perfect. That's fine. And I ended up picking up another one for the console. So I had 2 at the console and then 1 up at the bow, and that seemed to work out pretty good for me for what I had at the time. Pretty much all I used one up for the bow is straight down, like out in deeper water, or when I'm out finding rocks and boulders and stuff, and jigging, trying to find those, trying to mark, when I'm marking fish, or so that's really all I used it for, other than depth for when I'm up shallow too, and so make sure I'm not getting too shallow, or just trying to manage my depth. So that worked out. So at that point, what I started doing is I would use 2 graphs. I still do this to this day. These 2 graphs right here. So I have that one right there, the one on the left. That one is mapping alone, or mapping, and then I believe I got mapping and then like the sonar. So it's got like the colored, and then this one here is the side imaging and down imaging. And sometimes I'll just get that, you know, I'll just forget about the down imaging. I'll just do a full side imaging. So that way I've got a full screen of side imaging. And that's all I need for these two guys right there. I only need is a map, sonar, sometimes all map, and then down imaging and side imaging. So I don't need a whole lot going on there at the console, really. I don't, and I'm not gonna be like some of these other guys. I'm not gonna go and buy Livescope, put it on the back of the boat, hold whichever way, and I'm not gonna do that. I don't care what it is. For me, that's too much. Too much money for one, but it's just too much. You gotta keep track of all that. You gotta be looking like, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like much fun to me. So I'm not doing that. The only electronics, transducers, or whatever's on the back of the boat is one on the bottom underneath for side imaging, down imaging, sonar, and all that good stuff. So that's it. No forward-facing sonar off the back or anything like that. I'm not even gonna do those. Well, I can't because I don't have the setup, but I've got Talons, not power poles. But I'm not gonna do the what do they call it? The brake system. So they put the small like trolling motor heads on the power poles. So they bring them down in the water. And what guys use those for is if you're coming up onto a spot and you see a bed or a fish in front of you, you don't want to spook it. And if you turn your trolling motor around and go the other direction, you're going to push water at that fish. You're going to spook that fish. So what they do is they keep those power poles down, and they use those brakes so that way it's further away and it won't affect that fish. Well, it won't affect it as much. It's in theory. So it'll help. I'm not even going to go and do that though. I haven't found myself in a situation where that would have caught me more fish. I just haven't. I haven't been there yet. Maybe in the future, if I do, then I'll start thinking about it. But I really don't see a need for that either, honestly. Plus, I don't have power poles. I've got Talons. Now, I guess about that, between the two, I like Talons. So I've never had power poles. I've only had Talons. The reason why is because I like the Talons go straight down. I like that. Plus, these are 12 footers. Power poles only make, I guess, maybe to my knowledge, 10 foot. And I want to be able to do 12 foot. Now, the con to having Talons over power poles is power poles actually hold the boat steady, more steady than Talons. I found with Talons that even in shallow water, your boat can, with a strong enough wind, can turn. And in the same wind, I've seen guys with power poles just hold steady. So I feel like power poles are a little bit stronger, but it hasn't really been that much of a factor for me. So Talons are perfect because that way, I mean, I anchor out in 10 feet of water. So that's where I really like those 12-foot Talons. Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, we'll get back to the electronics. I only need 2 at the console because they're specifically designated. Now, I did try. I have 2 on the bow right now. Got the Humminbird here, and then we got the Garmin right there, the graph. That's the 106, so it's a 10-inch. It's a 10-inch Garmin and a 12-inch Helix, Humminbird Helix. It's a Humminbird Helix 12. Now, I bought that Helix 12 used, so I got it for a pretty good price. I didn't buy it brand new. I don't know. They're expensive. Obviously, you guys know that, right? So I didn't buy that brand new. That way I got a good deal on it. And it works great. It really does. Now, honestly, the Garmin here is really only for Livescope. And then the crooked. And then sorry, I don't know what's going on here. There we go. Crooked camera. And then the Helix, the Humminbird Helix 12, I've got that for a map and down imaging. I can do side imaging with that if I wanted to, but I've got it hooked up to the trolling motor transducer, the transducer that's factory mounted within the trolling motor. So, and that one's not a side imaging, it's just down imaging. And that's okay. I don't use down imaging on the bow of the boat anyways. I've tried it, it just doesn't work for me. It's just not for me. I know a lot of guys do use it and they benefit from it, but it's just not for me. So I got down imaging on the Helix 12 and I've got the map. In the future, what I am going to add is a Humminbird 360, a Mega 360, or I'm going to be adding like the Mega 360. So I'm going to put that on the trolling motor and that will run off of the Helix 12. So I'll have the 360 and the Garmin Livescope. Now what I've kind of thought about doing is maybe scrapping, not scrap, but moving the Humminbird unit, the Helix, replacing that with another Garmin, and then doing maybe two Livescope transducers. That might be the only, might be the most that I would ever do. Here's why. I see a benefit in, like, for the 360, and then the perspective mode with Livescope. The perspective mode, if you guys don't know already, it looks out in front of you. Kind of like what a 360 does. It's 360 all around the boat. You can see everything around you. And I've used it before, obviously, but it's harder to detect fish, but it's really good to see weed lines and boulders and all that stuff. So it's very useful. I feel like perspective mode, you can still do the same thing. But on perspective mode, you're seeing things in live view. So you're actually seeing these fish swimming around. That is pretty cool. So we're gonna play around with perspective mode this summer and we'll see how it goes. And if I can swing that bill and try to get another Garmin up there, then we will. I'm not gonna put 3 units up there, don't worry about it. I had 3 units up there once and I did not like it. It's too much. So the only problem with that is I've got Humminbirds on the console. And I got a Humminbird here. Well, I linked all my waypoints together. So I have all my waypoints on one unit and they all read off of that. That's my only issue. I might have to, I don't know. I don't want to switch everything and just change brands altogether. So that's where I'm in a tough spot. We'll see how it goes, but I won't ever put 3 units up here. I shouldn't say ever. It's gonna have to be a really specific or really, I don't know. It might have to be a really, particular reason why I would put 3 up there. 2 is my max, and that's really all I need. So I guess the only other thing that's probably gonna hurt me on the trolling motor, or not the trolling motor, sorry, the 360, that's gonna mount to the trolling motor. Well, I'm also going to mount it's a right height turret on the trolling motor at some point. And what that does is that's going to run, I'm going to put my Livescope transducer on that and then get rid of this manual pole. Why? Because the manual pole is great. It works just fantastic. But you got to have a hand free to turn it. With the right height turret, it's got foot pedals. You mount onto your deck and you just use your feet to steer it. And I think that's really useful, really beneficial to have on the water, because now I've got both hands free. If I see something, that I can just use my feet and I can make a cast as I'm going. And as I'm turning, I like that a lot better. And they got 2 speeds. The right height turret, they got 2 speeds. I've been told to just get the higher speed. And I think for a good reason, why not, right? Because you're gonna want that to turn just as fast as your boat is turning. So good reviews on that too. I've never owned one, but eventually I will, because this manual pole mount is great, but it's also work to kind of, it kind of gets in the way sometimes, and you gotta manually put it down in the water. And I guess it's a small price to pay. If you're out there spot locked in the middle of the water, and you don't, if you've got your transducer on your trolling motor and you're spot locked, you're at the mercy of your spot lock. really, is all it is. And this manual pole mount, you can be spot locked, you can steer and be like, oh, okay, my boat's trying to go this way, but fish are over there, and I'll just cast over there. Easy. Pretty much, I wanted to jump on here and kind of go through my electronics and the history of when I bought my electronics for, on my older boat and some of my older stuff. You don't need to buy all the brand new electronics that are coming out, all the brand new graphs. You might need to buy, like, maybe, depending on what you're using, like say if you're going to use anything with like Mega Live, Mega 360, those do require a newer unit, but sometimes you can find those used and still save some money on those. I'm going to try and buy used first before buying brand new, only because I've had really good luck buying used. I've never been, screwed over, and the units usually do run very well. So with that said, the only thing I bought brand new, like I said, is that Garmin Livescope and the Garmin Graph. That's pretty much it. Everything else I bought used, and you really don't need to. And you don't need a ton of graphs. Just think about how you're going to fish, and think about what you want to do out on the water. If you need a map, and you need down imaging and side imaging. I mean, that's the 3 minimum things I need at the dash. If you need those 3 things, and you can get away with it on one graph, and you don't mind it, I mean, it is going to get small, right? So just pay attention to that. And if you can still read it, great. Well, that's really all you need then. But if you want to see a bit more of that map, or because the smaller it is, the harder it is going to be to see. But if you want to get more of that map, then that's where I would pick up another unit. You don't have to have a transducer for that one. Some of these, you link them all together, you really only need one transducer at the back of the boat underneath, hooked up to one unit, and that can transfer to the other units. You can hook them up to it, and it will read it. And because that's all I did. And it works out great too. So you don't need a bunch of units, but think about what it is you really do need out on the water and what you need to do on the water. For me, it's if I'm out in the middle of the lake and I'm trying to find boulders, I'm farming, like I'm farming boulders, just going up and around, just like this, back and forth. Well, then I need down imaging because I want to see what's below me. Obviously, I need the map, and then the side imaging is key because then I can see the boulders way out. If I got a boulder 80 feet out, and you can tell because you're gonna see a big bright thing and then a big shadow. When you see that, then move your cursor over, whoop, add a waypoint. And then what you do is you just go back over there and just fish it. So that's my biggest thing, what I need there at the dash. Just think about what it is that you need and then go from there. And look up some videos and stuff too to see what guys are looking at, or go to the store, your local store. Check out the demos. A lot of times you can see those demos will have like a bunch of different views that you can check them out, and they give you like a really good example in what is it, like their demo views, I guess. Their demos, they got like their fake sonar and stuff that goes through. You can see how it looks like. Say, okay, I got a map, side imaging, and down imaging, or whatever order. You can see how it looks like on that unit on that size. If you like it, okay, great. You don't have to buy a brand new, you can just go find a used one of that same size. So also check out your stores, and they got really good examples in there too. These older units now aren't sold in stores anymore. I don't know, look up for some videos on those if you're gonna try and see the size, or just buy one. Sometimes you can get them for like $200, depending on what it is. Just make sure when you do buy them, you get the gimbal mount. That's and the bracket. What I mean, make sure you get this mounting bracket here. I also like to make sure you get a cover with it too, but a lot of times you won't get that lucky because those covers, I don't know, sometimes they just fall out. But make sure you get that bracket because that's key. Otherwise you're gonna have a difficult time mounting it, and then you're gonna be searching for a bracket and you might be spending more on that bracket itself. So, all right guys, just wanted to jump on here, let you know that you don't have to have a ton of electronics to fish. You don't have to spend a ton of money on those electronics. Just figure out what it is that you need to do out on the water, and figure out what it is that you can get by with, you know, 1 unit, 2 units, or whatever it is, to help you do what you want to do. So that's it for this one. I really appreciate you guys for watching. Don't forget, go to arrowoutdoorsapparel.com. Get your hats, hoodies, shirts, tank tops, and thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.